what's good? We about to tap into another Doug and Exile. He's about to expose Jack Smith. Jack, the the donkey of the day, donkey, uh, the fraud. He a corrupt man, and it finally caught up to him. Yeah, he really going out sad for real. But let's tap in.
Did you catch it? Hidden in the Trump versus USA immunity claim, Clarence Thomas shots fired way off topic against Garland over his appointment of Jack Smith. This is bad news for Jack Smith. I think Clarence Thomas has telegraphed everything. We're going to go all the way back to 30 years ago today was his Supreme Court nomination. I'm going to show you that footage, something I've never seen before. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots are. We're huge fans of Clarence Thomas. We are not fans of Jack Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That's him thanking George Herbert Walker Bush, G.H.W. Bush. Here's 30 years ago today, President Bush nominated Clarence Thomas to the U.S. Supreme Court. Justice Thomas is an American hero and our greatest justice, as he said 30 years ago today, quote, only in America. You're going to see his humility here. Clarence Thomas cries in this video clip. Watch Thomas's beautiful and heartfelt remarks on July 1st, 1991.
As a child, I could not dare dream that I would ever see the Supreme Court, not to mention be nominated to it. Indeed, my most vivid childhood memory of the Supreme Court was the impeach Earl Warren signs which lined Highway 17 near Savannah. I didn't quite understand who this Earl Warren fellow was, but I knew he was in some kind of trouble.
That's Clarence Thomas remembering his childhood. If any of you ever want to read a book, read it. My Grandfather's Son by Clarence Thomas. He reads the audiobook. It's amazing. He goes into his childhood. This guy came from dirt, no money, freezing to death. He was even an oyster farmer. He would walk out in the mud and try and...
Dang, he came a long way. I mean, that's how you know you can make it in life, because there's no excuses. It's all up to you what you make out of life. You either gonna go backwards or you gonna go forward. The only person stopping you in life is yourself. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it'd be a lot of people that have all these different stories, but they have all these obstacles, but they overcome them. It's all up to you. It's either you gonna be lazy or you gonna overcome it. You gonna make something shake. I mean, that's just the reality of life. He made something shake. He made something out of his life. That's real.
Oysters just for pennies. He was from absolute poverty, absolute zero education. We had people who cared for him. And that's what made the difference. And I think it is amazing. I love him. Here's Benjamin Weingarten. Justice Thomas launches a legal missile at AG Merrick Garland. What's he talking about here? We're going to read from the actual Supreme Court document. It is difficult to see how the special counsel has an office, quote, established by law as required by the Constitution. When the Attorney General appointed the special counsel, Jack Smith, he did not identify any statute that clearly creates such an office. See, this goes back to the fourth branch of government that gets removed with Chevron. See Department of Justice order, nor did he rely on a state statute granting him the authority to appoint officers as he deems fit, as the heads of some other agencies have. Instead, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, relied upon several statutes of a general nature. Okay, now I'm going to go into that footnote real quick, just because it's interesting to me. To be sure, a few presidents have appointed special prosecutors without pointing to any express statutory authorization. See General A.T. Eastland, Ethics, Politics, and Independent Counsel. But this court has no occasion to review the constitutionality of those prosecutors' authority. In fact, Congress gave the Attorney General the power to appoint additional officers as he deems necessary, but only for the Bureau of Prisons. As Milt Friedman used to say, ignore everything before the but. Okay? But special counsel's only for the Bureau of Prisons, back to Clarence Thomas 30 years ago.
I thank all of those who have helped me along the way and who helped me to this point and this moment in my life, especially my grandparents who are my mother, and the nuns, all of whom were adamant that I grow up to make something of myself.
He did make something out of himself because he overcame the obstacles, and I mean that's real though. Like he's getting emotional because those are the people that raised him, that got him in his life. That's all. That's what he knew in his life. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. It's just like with my grandma. Like I'm real close with my grandma. Like you feel what I'm saying? Like real close to a point that you know what I mean. That's like your number one person. Like you know what I mean. Like all the other BS gotta go out the window. You know what I mean? And yeah, you're gonna get emotional because when they gone, man. But that's real. That's real, man.
I'm choking up. I'm choking up. Notice he did not mention on that list of people his dad. His dad was, by the way, he mentions that in his book. You got to read the book. I'm not going to spoil it for you. My grandfather's son. That's why he thanked his grandfather. His grandfather raised him as if he was his dad. Okay. None of the statutes cited by the Attorney General appear to create an office for the special counsel, and especially not with the clarity typical of past statutes used for that purpose. The president is further authorized to direct to appoint special counsel who have charge and control of the prosecution of such litigation. Section 509 and 510 are generic provisions concerning the functions of the Attorney General and his ability to delegate authority to, quote, any other officer, employee, or agency. Basically, the job's too big for Merrick Garland, so he's allowed to appoint sections of it to someone else. It contemplates an attorney specially appointed by the Attorney General under law, emphasized, thereby suggesting that such an attorney's office must have already been created by some other law, emphasis added. As for 533, it provides that the Attorney General may appoint officials to detect and prosecute crimes against the United States, emphasis added. It is unclear whether an official is equivalent to an officer as used by the Constitution. Considering the meaning of officer, regarding this provision would be a curious place for Congress to hide the creation of an office for special counsel. It's placed in a chapter concerning the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not the separate chapters concerning U.S. attorneys or the now lapsed independent counsel. To be sure, the court gave passing reference to the cited statutes as supporting the appointment of the special prosecutor Jack Smith in United States versus Nixon. I'm sorry, not Jack Smith, but the one that went after Nixon back in 1974. But it provides no analysis of the provision's text. Perhaps there's an answer for why these statutes create an office for the special counsel. We'll start with that but in a second.
I also thank my wonderful wife and my wonderful son. In my view, only in America could this have been possible.
Only in America. What a great patriot. I also think it's funny that he brings up Ginny. You know, he drives a Winnebago, a motorhome around the U.S., and goes and parks in camping areas where people don't recognize him. They don't know who he is, and he loves being with the people. In one case, he met a racist who went up to him and just assumed because he was black, he was driving for someone else. And they said, "Who are you driving for?" And he said, "Oh, Miss Ginny." He's talking about his wife. I love it. Prosecution proceeds. We should at least provide a fulsome explanation of why that is so, even if the special counsel has a valid office. Questions remain as to whether the Attorney General filled that office in compliance with the Appointments Clause. For example, it must be determined whether the special counsel, Jack Smith, is a principal or inferior officer. If the former, his appointment is invalid because the special counsel has not nominated by presidential and confirmed by the Senate. So he's he's a lesser officer, meaning he cannot prosecute as principal officers must be. Even if he's an inferior officer, the Attorney General could appoint him without presidential nomination and senatorial confirmation, only if, quote, Congress by law vests the appointment in the Attorney General as a head of department. So the special counsel's appointment is invalid unless a statute created the special counsel's office and gave the Attorney General the power to fill it, quote, by law, unquote. This allows the Congress to stay in control of these special prosecutors. Whether the special counsel's office was established by law is not trifling technically. If Congress has not reached a consensus that a particular office should exist, the executive lacks the power to unilaterally create and then fill that office like they did with Jack Smith. Given that the special counsel purports to wield the executive branch's power to prosecute and consequences are weighty, our Constitution's separation of powers, including the separation of the powers to create and fill offices, is, quote, the absolutely central guarantee of a just government, unquote, and the liberty that it sources for us all. There is no prosecution that can justify imperiling it. That's the clarity. Here's the last clip of Clarence Thomas 30 years ago.
I look forward to the confirmation process and an opportunity to be of service once again to my country, and to be an example to those who are where I was, and to show them that indeed there is hope. Thank you again, President.
Yes, indeed there is hope. And that hope to get Jack Smith, those wheels started turning 30 years ago with Clarence Thomas's nomination. Little did he know that he was about to go into that committee where Joe Biden nailed him and just persecute him with what Clarence Thomas calls the high-tech lynching. I'm Doug in exile.
Hey everyone, check out this.
Yeah, man, that was a big storyline, man. But I mean, no, I agree with Doug and Exo. Jack Smith, corrupt. Oh man, he's a mess, man, for real. But like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Let me know in the comments what y'all think, and I'm out.